It is raining, so we're gonna stay inside today and do some sketching. Buenos días, mi gente. Gracias por regresar al canal y por los que se suscriben. Muchas gracias. Y si eres nuevo, pues ahí está el botón. Se puede suscribir si uno quiere. Hello, my people. Welcome back. Thank y'all to those who have subscribed. Here's my little dude that's going to be joining us today. My little Kurt. And thank y'all if you are returning to watch another one of my videos. Today's mediums of choice are color pencils, ink, and watercolor. I will be using these because I am currently looking for a more simplified version of my style that I sketch in. I really want to simplify it a lot more than what it already is, and that is because when I go out sketching, I have to sketch really quickly and I cannot get every single little detail or be super realistic with specific things. And here I am just going to be trying to look for a more simplified version of what I already do and what I already sketch and my style of sketching, but simplifying it even more, especially when it comes to portraits. I am trying to find like a specific style for like how to sketch eyes and how to sketch nose, and especially the mouth as well. For me, the mouth can be the most trickiest part to sketch because it can look very off if I don't sketch it correctly. I don't know why, but it's probably the hardest part for me to simplify. I'm treating these first sketches as a warm-up and thinking about how things are proportionally and the spaces between the facial features and just the overall head and what it needs to look like, because it's been a while since I've drawn people. And also drawing with color pencil rather than starting off with ink right away helps me to not focus so much on the permanent mark making that I'm drawing, because as you can tell for this sketch right here, when I started off with the ink, it did not go very well. I drew the nose way too long and then I kept going, and then everything was just super out of proportion, making the eyes look super tiny. But then I tried again, and then things were a lot more proportionally correct. That happens to me a lot. The first drawing or like the first sketch never looks good. And that is because I tend to forget everything that I ever learned about drawing or sketching in that first round of me like putting my pencil down to paper. Everything that I've ever learned just goes out of my head. And then that second part, everything starts to like come back to me, and I'm like, oh, right, this is how you're supposed to draw. But yeah, first sketch, first drawing, never looks good. Again, I'm just trying to find my style in a more simplified form, and that is why I'm going super slow. I think each of these sketches took roughly about like 5 minutes with the ink, so I wasn't going crazy fast. The fastest part was probably the hair. Hair is usually pretty quickly for me to sketch. But getting the distance between the eyes, it was slows me down. And then also trying to figure out what the nose and the mouth goes also slows me down. I'm pretty good at drawing like the overall shape of the head and knowing when their ears go and the jawline goes. But yeah, that whole middle section right there between the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, just trying to figure out where each one of those goes takes me a while. But I'm still practicing. I'm still continuing to sketch. Here I'm going in with watercolor and again simplifying down the way that I use watercolors and the way that I lay them down, trying to simplify it even further into just like keeping it either two colors to one color and just trying to do like flat colors here. So not a lot of layering, and rather than having like highlights and shadows, I'm just suggesting those things here, so leaving a lot of negative and positive spaces between like actual color and the color of the paper. So that is what I am working on here. I do want to mention that I haven't sketched people or like done actual portraits of people for like a long time now. I think the last time was probably, I would say April. I would say April was the last time that I did anything that had to do with portraits, and I saw a huge step back in the way that I used to draw portraits. I used to be very good at knowing where the eyes went, knowing where the eyebrows went, like knowing the correct proportions of the face and drawing them down pretty quickly. But because I've been drawing animals more than people, sort of kind of forgot how to draw people and like knowing where each part of the facial features go, especially drawing expressions on the face. I'm not very good at that anymore. I used to be, but not no more because I haven't drawn people in a long time, and drawing people is one of my favorite things to do. It always brings me a lot of joy. So hopefully this summer, when I am out and about, hopefully I get to sketch some people and do some actual portraits, like live portraits. That is my hope for this summer. And yeah, that's kind of like the whole purpose of me doing this, is just trying to figure out how I am going to simplify faces so that when I am out and about and sketching people, I am quick about it and I know how to draw the eyes, how to draw the nose, and how to simplify the mouth, and I don't have to think about it. As well as coloring, as when it comes to watercolor. Hopefully I get a lot faster at doing this. I'm gonna keep practicing. When it comes to inking, I am very confident in my line work. But it really does slow me down not knowing exactly where the mouth and the nose should go. But I am going to continue to work on that. It shouldn't take me that long to get back to drawing portraits, because once I get things down, and I am quick about it. But yeah, it should probably take me about 2 weeks of me just sketching portraits, and then I'll know exactly where everything should go. I'll know the correct anatomy of the face, the correct proportions, and the spacing between each facial feature. Another thing that I was focusing on after this sketch right here was trying to figure out the most unique parts of the face in each of my references. So for this one, it was the eyebrows. The eyebrows were very unique in their shape, so I'm just emphasizing with my line work the eyebrows. And then for this one, I didn't simplify it as much. So I was just trying to take note of like how the nose would look like if I were to draw it differently than just like the one that I did before, which was like a line going straight down and then a little loop. But yeah, and then another nose that I did was just like a little round line on the bottom. And then what else did I do? As for like eyelids, I would just draw the top eyelid and not the bottom one. But for this one, I drew the bottom one as well. And then I was also trying to figure out whether or not to draw the top and the bottom lip, or just draw that space of the mouth as just like a line. But I decided to just draw the cupid and then the bottom of the lip, and then just a line for like the mouth, the actual mouth. So I did that, and then afterwards I decided not to draw like a bottom lid. I felt that was a bit too much. And what else could I talk about here? I'm not sure what else to mention, but I'm gonna leave you guys with a bit of music. Then we will be back. This sketch right here is one of my favorite sketches out of all of them, and that is because of how I simplified the eyes and the nose and the mouth, because I just drew the tip of the nose to suggest a nose, and I also really love the positive and negative spaces that I did. And for this face right here, it was really difficult to get the facial expression, especially of the mouth, because it was one of those smiles where it's like the person that wants to cry but isn't gonna cry, like they're smiling sad, like they're sadly smiling. I don't know how else to say that. But also the eyes, I drew not only the eyelids but also the crease of the eyelids, because how deep those eyes were. And again, that's what I'm saying. It's like whatever facial feature stands out, that's what I'm gonna put more emphasis on and do a little bit more line work. Again, for this one sketch right here, I do the crease of the eyelid because the eyes were very expressive, so that's why I did that. And then with the mouth, same thing, it's still very simplified. The person is smiling, so they kind of have like a dimple. Again, that's another facial feature that stands out. And then the eyes also stood out, so I drew the eyelid. So that, yeah, by the time I got to here, I finally figured out like how I want to draw portraits. And I also finally figured out where the eyes and the nose and the mouth goes. Because it is a specific way that you can tell when things are like off. So here I'm using like the basic methods to make sure that everything's in place, like the face is divided in 3/4 and like the smile lines are never beyond the middle of the eye socket. Another one would also be making sure that the space between both eyes is the same width as an eye. So it's like if there was an eye in the middle, it would take up that space. For this one, the eyes were a little bit more separated in my reference. So I considered that when I was sketching this one. And then another one would be like making sure that the nose is no wider than that space in between both eyes. Or sometimes it's just a little bit wider. And things like that were very helpful to me to try and sketch these portraits out. Especially these last 3 that I sketched. that's where you can see more of like the proportions more correctly, and like the spacing between each section of the face is a lot more correct. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to continue practicing. This is something that I've already learned like a long time ago. Like I've been drawing portraits for a long time. It's just when I don't do something for a long time, I tend to forget just a bit. So yeah, just a few more rounds of these and I'll be good to go. But yeah, this is how the spreads turned out. I did a lot of sketching, a lot of exploration and simplifying the face. And here are some more sketches. And then, yeah, I sketched a lot with the color pencil in the beginning just to warm up a bit. But yeah, that's how it turned out. Hope you guys come back. For another video.